Clinton man charged with murder in Waterville last year pleaded not guilty in court yesterday. 53-year-old Richard Hatt is accused of fatally shooting 47-year-old Stephen Killam in October. He's charged with murder, burglary, assault, criminal threatening, and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, all of which Hatt pleaded not guilty to. On October 15th, police were called to the parking lot of the Mount Joseph at Waterville Nursing Facility on Highwood Street for a report of multiple gunshots. When police arrived, they found 47-year-old Stephen Killam of Fairfield dead inside a car. During a bail hearing in November, attorneys said Hatt believed Killam was having an affair with his girlfriend, a theory that his own lawyers called, quote, delusional. It was also revealed in the hearing that Hatt reportedly assaulted a man on Winter Street hours before the murder, believing it was Killam. Hatt could serve up to life in prison without the possibility of release.